Hi guys, we're going to get started with our vocabulary before our greatest common factor notes. So first I want to talk about how this setup of our vocabulary will always match what's on Miss Madera's whiteboard vocab wall. So that is a constantly changing thing, and sometimes you guys will come up with examples or non-examples, the algebraic example or the definition, but this setup will always be the same. All the definitions will be in the same spot as well as all the examples, the algebraic example, and the non-examples. So let's start with the first number. We have multiples. It is what we get after multiplying a number by an integer. An integer is a new 6th grade word that we're going to talk about. Basically, it's any whole number. So an integer is like 1, 5, 10. It's not fractions or decimals. The algebraic example, now that you're in 6th grade, we're going to be talking about algebra, and that uses variables, basically letters that represent numbers. But in this case with multiples, there's so many different types that instead of giving you an algebraic example, I'm going to give you the tip of, you will hear Miss Madera say this a lot, that multiples march on. And you're going to see Miss Madera do this with her arms a lot, kind of like, or I should do it with my finger just to show you that it's marching on. You also might have heard this when you were younger in earlier grades when you are counting by, like counting by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, counting by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, counting by 10s, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Those are all multiples. So let's say I want to count by 6s. I have 6. 6 more would be 12. 6 more from that would be 18. But here's where the math comes from. Instead of just saying counting by, that's a nice way to help remember, but to describe what it actually is, it's 1 times 6, this is the multiple. 2 times 6, this is that multiple, the answer when multiplying a number by an integer. And of course 3 times 6, which is 18. These guys are your multiples right there. A non-example would be, let's say I want to count by 3s. So if I count by 3s, I start with 3. 3 more would be 6. 3 more would be 9. 3 more would be 12. 3 more would be 15. 3 more would be 18. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. That's how I'm counting by 3s. A non-example would probably be, I'm going to look at my list. I don't see the number 7. 7 is not a multiple of 3. I counted by 3s, and I did not have the number 7 in this list of multiples. So this would be a non-example. Basically, 7 would not work. It is not a multiple of 3. It's not in this list. All right, I'm going to scoot on down. Now we're going to talk about 2 different words, but they go together quite often when you're talking about, I'm going to put this in the corner, GCF. Common in math, it's not like, oh, we have a lot in common. We both like soccer. We both like the same TV show. In math, common basically means you're looking at numbers that are the same or shared. Like if I'm looking at lists again, do they share something? Do you see the same number on both lists? And then a factor has one job. A factor is a number that you multiply. So if you hear or read a math question saying you have 2 factors, they only have one job. It is to multiply. That's why I'm going to put an X underneath it to remind me. So now I can use an algebraic example. If I were to write A times B equals C, like I could say A is 4, B is 2. What's 4 times 2? Well, that would be 8. So just looking at the pieces of this multiplication problem, these 2 numbers, the ones that are actually doing the multiplying, these are your factors. Sounds a little interesting. When you're talking about multiples, you think multiply, which is true. However, the factors, they're the ones that are actually doing the work. They multiply together to get to your product, which is 8. In fact, let's write that here. This is your product. We're talking about the factors, though. That's why I left those circled. Okay. Another example. Let's talk about if I have the number 12. What 2 numbers can I multiply together to get to 12? Well, 6 and 2 help me get to 12. 3 and 4, I multiply them together to help me get to 12. 1 and 12, Miss Madera's favorite. These guys down here are the factors. A non-example would be anything with subtraction. That won't have any factors in the mix. Anything to do with addition. There are no factors in that problem. And anything to do with division. You will not see any factors in that as well. Those are all non-examples. You'll only find factors. Their one and only job is to be numbers that you multiply together.